Hey, it's Dr. Nuesse from Easy DOT Physicals, and today we are talking all about the new laws in California specifically that prohibit marijuana testing. So what we are specifically talking about is California Assembly Bill 2188 and Assembly Bill 700 and what they mean if you are a marijuana user in California and have a job that requires drug testing. So before I get into it, I am as always going to leave a link in the description box below for exploroacademy.com. This is essential viewing if you are subject to drug testing and are concerned about possibly testing positive for marijuana. And I'll also leave a link to my preferred home drug testing kits that have the exact same cutoff levels as traditional lab tests. Both will be in the description box below. And as stated many times in many of my previous videos, it is becoming more and more difficult to make marijuana-related content here on YouTube. Even when it's completely legal and informational like this type of video, it's very difficult to use certain keywords, certain tags, so it doesn't really show up when people search for this type of content. So if you could do me a favor and just like this video, that helps push it up the YouTube algorithm. Again, my purpose is to get this information out to as many people as possible. Okay, so Assembly Bill 700 makes it illegal for California employers to ask about off-duty marijuana use. So your employer can no longer ask you on any documentation, on any forms, or just ask you directly if you use marijuana outside of the times that you are working, off-duty use. And Assembly Bill 2188 makes it illegal for employers to use positive tests for marijuana metabolites against the employee. So you can't be terminated, suspended, or even not hired based on a positive marijuana metabolite test. So these laws went into effect officially on January 1st of 2024. And certainly there are other states and cities and districts that have very similar laws, and I've touched on this in a number of my videos in the past, but I have been getting a lot of questions specifically on this one, so I decided to do what I typically do and make an update video. So it's very important to understand thoroughly what the government is forbidding employers to test for. And what they're forbidding employers to test for specifically is marijuana metabolites, the metabolites that are released when THC is broken down in your system. So think of tests like a urinalysis or a hair test. And I've mentioned this many times in many other videos, but these types of tests, the test for metabolites, can produce positive results for many, many months, even if the person has stopped using. Okay, so it's important to make the distinction between what employers can and cannot do based on this law. What they cannot do, again, is they cannot discriminate against an employee because they test positive for marijuana metabolites. What they can do is still test for active use, and they still can use this information to either not hire or to suspend or to terminate an employee. So these types of tests could include saliva testing and even potentially blood testing. So they are permitted to do both of those and use the results to make a determination about hiring, suspending, or termination. And they can also do impairment tests. So if they think that you are potentially impaired while on the job, they can do an impairment test. Think of something like a police field test that would be performed if a DUI is suspected. So the point of all this is to not discriminate or not penalize people that use marijuana outside of their typical work schedule, but to still catch people that are high when they are at work. All right, and finally, let's talk about the exceptions to this rule, who this rule does not apply to, or who these rules do not apply to. And first off is Anyone in the building or construction field, they are exempt from this bill. So your employer still can test using urinalysis and or a hair sample if they choose to. And also, this law doesn't do anything to affect federal law. So if you are mandated to take a drug test by the federal government, something like the FMCSA, then you will be tested for marijuana metabolites using a urinalysis. As of the posting of the video, the FMCSA and all federal government agencies still use a urinalysis. And if you test positive for marijuana metabolites, that information can be used to either not hire you, suspend you, or terminate you. All right, so I hope that helps clear up some of these questions about this new California law. Stay subscribed here for more updates. Check out exploroacademy.com and my preferred home drug testing kits if you have a drug test upcoming. All right, until next time, everybody, stay safe.